lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag, which was created by Ellie at Earl Grey Books and Champy. I will list both their channels down in the description below. The tag is originally from 2016, but Justin at Ghost Reader has recently done it this year in 2019, so I'm going to do it also. I'll also link Ghost Reader's channel down in the description below. So question 1 is the best book you've read so far in 2019. And that, hands down, goes to Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I mean, these are two of my favorite writers, period, so the fact that they worked together to make one book, obviously. Good Omens is a comedic take on the apocalypse, where a demon named Crowley and an angel named Aziraphale work together to try to stop the impending apocalypse. They've also managed to misplace the Antichrist, who is this young boy named Adam Young, who doesn't really want to rule the world. He just wants his own little town to be the same and to be a child. And it's so sweet and so funny, and just, I loved it so much. And question 2. Best sequel so far in 2019, and that was Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. This is the sequel to Geekerella. Both of these take place at this sci-fi convention centered around the show Starfield. In book 2, we're following Jessica Stone, who plays the princess in that show, and Jessica doesn't really want to keep playing the sci-fi princess. She wants to go out and do indie flicks, but she's starting to get typecast because the show has done, well, the movie has done so well. So Jessica would rather just not have to do the sequel and move on with her life. However, Imogen is a fangirl who absolutely adores Starfield, is so excited about the movie reboots, and she wants to save Princess Amara from getting canceled so that she'll appear in the next movies and be like a stronger, more awesome character. Over the course of the 2 weekends, the two women meet, end up having to switch places, and learn more about each other and their different situations and takes on the fandom surrounding Starfield. This one is so much fun. It's got a romantic aspect to them as they each have their own interests, but also it's just totally geeky sci-fi convention fun. Question 3 is a new release you haven't read but want to. This was hard because I've actually been doing pretty good about grabbing the new releases that I really want to read at a library and reading them quickly. So one that I haven't read yet is Technically You Started It by Lana Wood-Johnson. This is a young adult contemporary novel. It is kind of a mix-up type of story. Hallie has a project in school with this kid in her class named Martin, and she starts texting him. Only there are two kids with the same first and last name, and she ends up texting the wrong Martin. In fact, it's the Martin that she doesn't like and hates. And the two of them start texting back and bonding, but the entire time, Hallie thinks that she's talking to the different Martin, and this Martin doesn't know that Hallie thinks he's the other one, so it sounds amazing and funny and a little bit light, so totally want to check that one out. Question 4, the most anticipated release of the second half of the year. So when I first watched the video and had this question, the one that popped into mind was Supernova by Marissa Meyer. It is the 3rd book in the Renegade series. It's about superheroes and villains, but it's not quite as cut and dry as that, as Nova, who is a villain, pretends to be one of the heroes, and one of the heroes, Adrian, has to go be a vigilante. So they both have 2 superhero personas, and just, it's such a crazy world, so I'm excited for Supernova and finishing off this trilogy and finding out what happens. So that was my first pick. That was until this week when Shanna Swendson announced the 9th Enchanted Inc. novel, Enchanted Ever After, where Katie Chandler gets married, and now that's absolutely I need that book right now. So the Enchanted Inc. series follows Katie Chandler, who is a magical immune, and her job is to see past spells that wizards and other magical creatures are trying to cast to hide their ulterior motives and stuff, and slip clauses into contracts, because she works for an actual company that produces magic spells. So book 9 sees her getting married, and I am totally on board with any Enchanted Inc. novel, so especially excited for the wedding. Yay! Okay, question 5 is the biggest disappointment. I'm going to say 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I still gave this a 3 stars out of 5. Like, it's a solid read. The problem is that Sally Thorne's first book, The Hating Game, was so amazing and so funny and ridiculous. It's filled with pranks as these two people who hate each other are competing for the same job, and they just start pranking each other, and it's amazing. 99% Mine. I can't even remember their names in this book now. Like, I blocked it out of my mind. But we see this girl and this guy who have been childhood friends, except the guy is best friends with the girl's twin brother, and so, like, they've never dated, but they definitely have feelings for each other. So they've got this forbidden sort of love story happening, and it just wasn't as much fun. The whole pranking, trying to one-up each other part was my favorite part of The Hating Game, and this didn't have, like, any of it. It was definitely more like steamy romance and just not fun. Solid read, but not as good as the first one, so it did disappoint me. Number 6 is the biggest surprise. It was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This book is like 1,000 pages, so I thought it was going to be really long and really boring. I mean, it's really long and really intricately plotted, but it's also really, really good. So the main character, Edmond Dantes, is arrested and framed for a crime he didn't commit. In fact, he doesn't even know what he's being accused of, but he's thrown in jail for 14 years and ends up losing everything. He lost the perfect job, his father dies while he's in prison, his fiancée goes and marries somebody else, so he manages to escape. Another prisoner in the cell told him about this vast treasure that was buried. Edmund finds the treasure and takes on the new persona of the Count of Monte Cristo and seeks revenge against everybody who wronged him and threw him in jail. And it's actually really, really entertaining and a really fun adventure story. So even though it took forever and it's like a 48-hour long audiobook, I just ate up like every bit of it. So it was not at all boring like I thought it was going to be. My favorite new author, I have recently read Elizabeth Acevedo's novel With the Fire and High, which is about a teenage girl who has a daughter. So Imani got pregnant her freshman year of high school, and now in her senior year of high school, she's trying to figure out what she wants to do outside of like what she wants to do next. Does she go to college? Does she get a job right away? And she's trying to balance the whole, what do I want to do with my life and what's going to make things best for me versus what's going to be best for my daughter. So I really enjoyed it. It has amazing writing. The book itself is just gorgeous. We're also dealing with a character who is part Puerto Rican and also Black, so a different background to her, and dealing with her ties to Puerto Rico and her father who's gone back there and left her with her grandmother. So much depth, but also I just ate it all up. It was so beautifully written. So definitely my favorite author right now. My newest crush. It's hard to pick. I've got to say that Alex and Henry from Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston definitely caught my attention. So this is an LGBT story where both the guys are attracted to another guy. So it's a bit weird to have a crush on both of them, and it's hard for me to pick which one I like better, but they're both so geeky and nerdy, but like in a reserved kind of way. So Henry is an English prince, and he needs to uphold the standards of the royal crown, and so he is very, very reserved. But when he starts texting Alex, the first son of the United States, and they start developing this relationship, oh my gosh, their texts back and forth between each other or emails, their communications are just amazing. They are both such nerds that it's hard not to fall in love with both of them. And definitely it's got some steamy scenes in it too, so yeah, I have a crush on both these guys. Even if they wouldn't have crushes on me back. Well, Alex is bi, but Henry wouldn't. It's okay. I forgive them. Okay, number 9 is your newest favorite character, and that is probably April May from The Absolutely Remarkable Thing. She's not perfect. Like, she definitely has some flaws, but I loved her explaining everything that's happening. So, in an absolutely remarkable thing, this robot just appears on the streets of New York, and April May starts filming a YouTube video about it, which goes viral because her robot is not the only robot. There are like 64 of them spread all around the world, and nobody knows how they got there, and they're also really, really strange. They're giant, they exhibit weird physical properties, so April May takes the forefront of trying to figure out what this is and also capture her social media audience and make a living after being a YouTube star, which I just ate up as a YouTuber, but also the sci-fi aspect and the mystery of trying to figure out the robots, and I loved April May guiding us through it all, and she's a very complicated character. She's not always right, and sometimes she gets too self-absorbed, but for the most part, I understood where she was coming from and thought that it was fun and amusing. So, yes, April May is definitely up there. Number 10, A Book That Made You Cry. The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk is about death and grief. So there are 3 different characters we're following that have lost 3 different friends that were all teenagers, and just all of them dealing with their grief. And so many sad moments, so many moments where they're grieving and processing, and dealing with different kinds of death. So I definitely cried a lot during that book. But also because we're following them through the grieving process, by the end of the book we start seeing them moving on and learning how to cope with their new reality, missing these people. And it's relatively optimistic ending while still taking the poignancy of death and figuring out how do we honor them but still carry on. So, yeah. Number 11, A Book That Made You Happy. Like all of the My Little Pony comics that I've read this year make me ridiculously happy. It's crazy insane. The most recent one that I finished is the Ponyville Mysteries, in which the Cutie Mark Crusaders go around Ponyville just solving mysteries and crimes and stuff, and it's so simple and with such like bright colors and like ridiculously innocent characters that it's hard not to be like happy while reading them and to feel like to laugh through it. And like there's so many like little things in the background and like Easter eggs to be found, so I definitely just all of My Little Pony comics. Number 12, The Most Beautiful Book You've Bought. I didn't really buy that many books this year. I know I posted a lot of book hauls, but most of them were from 2018, stuff that I bought them because I got so backed up. So I kind of just stopped buying things in 2019 because I knew that I had tons of book hauls and also books to read. But the most beautiful cover I ended up getting was Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor, issue 4, with the TARDIS on it. I'm in love with the TARDIS. Like, it's not even a crush at this point. Like, I am just absolutely in love with the TARDIS. She can travel anywhere in time and space. Anytime she has any interaction with the Doctor or any of the companions, and she shows any kind of personality, I just, like, squeal over it. Yes, I adore it, and she is so gorgeous. And this cover with all the lights and the space and the exploding is just, like, amazing. So, bam. And 13 books you need to read by the end of the year. Besides the new releases that I haven't read yet, I'm going to go with Loving Capes by Thomas F. Zahler. He's one of the artists in the My Little Pony comics, so I was checking out some of his other works. So Loving Capes is this romantic situational comedy where we have a superhero named Crusader as he embarks on this relationship. At first, like, he's dating this girl and she doesn't know he's a superhero, and then she finds out, and then their relationship each step of the way. It sounds adorable, and it's supposed to focus more on the sitcom aspect of it, where like the superheroing is happening off in the background. But, like, him being a superhero is part of his character, but we're not seeing the major battles. So, I am definitely intrigued by this concept. I love rom-coms, and I love sitcoms on television, so I'm hoping that this, like, comic itself balances well. I haven't really been following new releases that are upcoming. I've mostly been, like, grabbing them when I see them at the library, placing books on hold as they come across my desk. So I don't really know what other books are coming out, and there's nothing else that I feel like I need to read this year as opposed to, eventually. So there is the mid-year book freakout tag. Anybody who wants to do it, I tag you. If you don't have a blog or if you don't have a YouTube channel or a blog and you want to answer them, just leave the answers down in the description below. Do you have any new releases? Are there any upcoming new releases that you think I should be paying attention to that I didn't mention? So peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.